I rather fucking swim or drown
That's
because
right.
I want to be in the fucking water. I don't
That's
want to
right.
be wanting to be in the water and not getting in because I'm afraid. And so if I float, great. If I fail, great. But maybe tomorrow I'm going to be fantastic.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Quality Show. Today we have Eliana Ghen. Um, well, I look at her as my friend, but she's also a superstar in my eyes.
Aw,
So,
so nice. You're so nice.
Eliana, you're this not just a social media phenomenon, but you're a super talent that I really don't know much of anyone that could do what you do. I mean, you're
Aw,
like this. First and foremost, you're a great person, but you're an
aw.
amazing writer. You're a sound designer. You're an editor. You're a producer. You're a director. Obviously, you're an actress, a great actress. Your social media is just insane. Like over 10 million followers on TikTok, 5 million subscribers on YouTube, what, 4 billion views on
on
across all
just you
your
on just
social?
YouTube. On just YouTube, it's 4 billion. So I can imagine what it is on TikTok.
That's that's
It's
so
crazy.
we got a lot to talk about over here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But before I dive into it, I really want to get to know you, right? We worked on the film together, Christmas Cowboy, which was our first feature.
Joy to the world, the Lord has come.
Everything that we got to know each other on, some of the it was really still getting to know each other, but didn't really get into the personals. But I don't know anything about your backstory, how you got into the entertainment industry.
Really?
You know,
We never talked about that?
no, we never talked about that. And
Oh
then
my God.
I know you sing, you're a dancer, you got into music. I mean,
That's
I don't know how you got
crazy.
into it. I know you do it, but I never asked the questions.
That's so crazy that we didn't talk about that. You know what's so
No.
funny before I tell you? I have it like you probably know me better than anybody else other than Marshall and Adam, who's my coach,
Really?
or
Why is
Marty. Yep.
that?
Because Christmas Cowboy pushed me to the breaking point of like of like needing to fight with you and with everyone to make sure we got what we needed. That like you saw me past the point of my persona that I put on my face. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
You've seen me when I'm like happy, you've seen me when I'm pissed off, you've
yep.
seen me when I'm defiant, you've seen me when I'm arguing with you, you've seen my arrogance. And
Yeah.
not many people get to see that side of me because I'm really good at hiding it.
The funny thing is like talking about the film over here. When you came to New York and we only had like a 3-man crew pretty much, right? Or 4-man crew, whatever that was, right? Which was crazy. I didn't know how you were gonna take it. Because
Really?
I had this thing that having a full crew to do what to do it. But you came in and I felt like you just parachuted into New York, right? And I felt like I was like, okay, how is she gonna take it with this super low budget feel, but we need to be super nimble. And then you came in and it's like you took it seriously, you were super professional about it. You knocked it out of the park. I'm thinking, whoa, she's like, she's grinding, she's like, she's grinding. She's just making it happen, making it super easy, no egos around it. And I was like, huh. And so that was my first impression about your work ethics and who you are. Just because like, you took the cover off of, okay, I'm not in this thing. Where's the crew? Where's my makeup? Where's my costume designer? All that was always like, I'm doing it myself. We're just gonna get this shit done.
But you were also so easy to work with. Wow, I feel like you were so easy to work with because you really and me and you spoke a lot before, remember? So me and you already had like this friendship like going by the time we got there. So I was very comfortable with you. And then also, like I do so many shorts and usually it's just me and a camera. And I remember when you were writing to me and you kept saying, Eliana, That now I know you were just trying to prep me. Like, Eliana is really small. It's gonna be like it's gonna be run and gun. And I'm like, Quad, don't worry about it. And you told me like 10 times, Eliana's gonna be really small. We're running gunning it. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, I understand. Like, I make shorts all the time with one person. Like, I get it.
I felt like it's like no crew aside just like, my that's pretty much my friends working with me at the end of the day. And I didn't know how you're going to take it, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, you did awesome. You really did awesome. Especially, I was worried about you because you're so
Yeah?
used to like large crews. So mine was like the opposite. I was like, or maybe it's the same. Like you're so used to large crews and you're with like all this help. And I was like, but don't worry. Even if nobody shows up, we're gonna figure it out. Like it's fine. So
You
like
were worried about me. That's
yeah,
funny.
I was. Oh, I got the only time I got scared was when we were running out of daylight and the guy is trying to
Oh
fix
my
my
gosh.
mic and he's like up my shirt and we're in the middle of Times Square near a church. This man is
Oh
up
my
my
God.
shirt
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you're like stop with the audio and I'm like I don't know what to do. I don't know. You're like I'm just gonna sit here until someone pushes it.
That's hilarious. I mean, let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about that real quick. First of all, New York gets dark by 4 o'clock. So we're not working with a 12-hour day here. We're really working on a 6-7 hour day at the end of the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think you said that when we did the coffee scene, you said, dude, that was like the fastest scene I ever did.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even shoot my shorts that fast. I was like, okay, all right, we're really
Now,
going.
and when we did that, they used to have confidence in me, saying that, does this look good or not?
No, I wasn't worried about how it looked. The
Okay,
only thing I ever worried about was are we getting the notes or the coverage
that's right.
that we
That's right.
need with this fast pace, because me
That's
and you,
right.
before we got to set, we were talking about all the things, all the shots that you wanted to do. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then we get there and all of it has to be thrown away because you don't have the
That's right.
time.
No time.
There's no time. So it's kind of like, and then at that point, you want to focus on the acting also, but you can't. You can't really focus on that because you're so trying to get through the time. If we had 2 days, we could have done the coffee shop and then we could have done the walking. I mean, the coffee
That's
shop and
right.
the office and then the walking. But we had that
Yep.
one day and I was like, all right,
So
here we
before we
go.
get into that, let's backtrack a little bit. So just go back to Ileana.
To who I am.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Let's start there. Like, how'd you get into the entertainment business? And
okay, so
why are you in this crazy business?
yeah, that's a good question. I'm fucked up. No, seriously. So basically when I was really little, I had this friend who always wanted to be a singer. And I was like, that's a fun job. Like, I want to do that. I want to be on stage. And my grandmother, she was a writer, but for theater. And she did theater plays. And growing up, I was Jewish, so she did a lot of Jewish community theater, but very respected as a director in theater. So growing up, I was always in that entertainment art. And then when I turned 9, I was like, I still want to sing. But then I saw Harry Potter and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. So basically when I was 7 years old and I'm not shy about this anymore. I tell everyone I was sexually abused by my grandfather. So it created a lot of like needing to escape. Right. So like I didn't want to sit in the darkness. And I didn't tell anyone. I just told my parents. I didn't tell my siblings. So when I turned 9 and I watched Harry Potter, it like totally took me there. And I'm like, oh my God, if I become an actress, I just get to play in Harry Potter land my whole life. That's what I thought. And so then I had this dream at 9 years old to be an actress. And then when I turned 15, my mom got this. I was 15 years old and my grandmother just moved into a complex that has like shops around it. And there was this one place it's called Showtime. It was children's theater. Do you know what children's theater is?
Sorta.
Like, so children's theater is like where children get to play big parts. Like, let's say Cinderella is played by a 12-year-old, obviously appropriate for
Oh,
children, but stage
gotcha.
shows. And it was like literally
Yeah.
you walk down the elevator, it's right there. And my
Mm,
mom sees a flyer. One day she's just like helping my grandmother in the apartment. She sees a flyer and it says acting classes by Jane Kelly.
mm,
And my mom was like, do you want to go attend this 3 hour, it's called Getting Cast 101. And I was like,
mm.
yeah. But at the time, I was a really religious Jewish person. And if you don't know what that means, it means on like Friday night to Saturday night, you don't turn on the lights, you don't drive. It's kind of like it's a Sabbath. You don't do anything. Right. So I didn't do anything
Really?
during that time in my
Wow.
life. My mom's like, but we biked. My mom's like, okay, well, if you want to go, we have to bike there. And from where we lived, it was like 4 miles. And I was
Holy
like,
crap.
4 miles to bike to this class. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, I want to go. She's like, are you
Wow.
sure you want to bike 4 miles to get? I'm like, yes. So we get on a bike. Me and my mom bike 4 miles. We sit there for 3 hours and I'm in awe of this woman. And then I watch a show and I sit there and then we bike all the way back. So we biked 8 miles that day. And I'm like, I'm signing up for her class. So I signed up for her class and she was the first experience of like what real acting is. Cause up until that point, I thought it was just easy. Like, I'm just going to put myself in the moment. And then I learned
Mm,
really like what is acting. And then I fell in love with the craft of it. I really
mm.
fell in love with what it was and discovering my own technique. And so when I turned 18, I auditioned for Juilliard. I did not get in. Okay. I did
You
not
should
get
have. You
in.
should have gone in.
I wasn't really good back then, to be completely honest.
Okay.
I was like, I was, I was like I thought I was good, but I wasn't really that good. I was always really, I felt like in touch with my emotions by myself in my room. But anyway, I didn't get into Juilliard, but then I got this letter in the mail to a place called the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts. I was on Fifth Avenue, 19th Street in New York. And I auditioned and I got in. And then I got a scholarship. And at the time, I think only one out of 100 and no, 124 kids were accepted into this program a year.
See, that could have been just a Juilliard thing. A Juilliard is Juilliard, right? And it doesn't mean
Yeah,
that you're not good. It could have been political reasons, and it's
yeah,
there's a lot to it. It could be
right,
a
right.
quota
Right. They
thing,
even said they even said Juilliard likes to take older people or people that have auditioned many times. And Juilliard only takes 18. So you can
Oh,
imagine how
yeah.
many people are auditioning. But I remember this poor kid, he was shaking like a leaf and he was the last person to go into the room. I felt so bad for this kid. I just remember him sitting there shaking it. And for an hour it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, I feel so bad for you. I feel more bad for you than I do for myself right this second. And then they make you
Oh,
sit
wow.
there, and then Juilliard makes you sit there for like an hours waiting to see if you made the list.
Oh my god. Yeah, I didn't go through that process,
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't
you
go
got
that
into
I was
Juilliard.
accepted, like, on the spot, but that was, like but that's because that's I think that's different when you're doing, like, when you're doing junior level acceptance versus adult level. I was in
Yes.
adult side of things,
Yeah, yeah,
which is a
yeah.
very different process, very different
Yes, that's what
process,
they
you know?
said. They said they like to take people who are old or whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's not only about talent, like you said. And then I got into this other school, which is the best thing that ever happened to me.
And
But
there you go. I mean, that's so you couldn't have sucked that bad for you to get into that type of school,
No, no, no.
right?
You know what also though? I was so nervous for the Juilliard audition because I built up Juilliard in my head so much that I wasn't as free. And when I
Mm,
got to the other audition, I was so I was having so much fun in the audition
mm,
because I didn't care about getting into that school. So I was making them laugh, I
interesting.
was making them cry, like I I just had so much fun in the audition that I was like, I don't care if I go in. I almost chose not to go to the school once I got in because I didn't know what it was at the time. It wasn't really big at the time. And I remember sitting It was one night I didn't know what to do. I'm like, do I go to that school? Do I not? I had a hard time with picking and choosing choices. And I just remember sitting outside and I was at like this coffee shop and I hear the song, New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. You know, that one by Alicia Keys.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I heard it singing. I was like, I gotta go. That's my sign. That's my sign. Thank you, Alicia Keys. You are the reason I went to New York City. I'm a thousand
So I have
percent
a question
serious.
for you. So that you would know, and your parents would know, and everyone knows that your chances of making it in the entertainment industry is like slim to
Oh
none.
yeah.
And but you had this super passion, and doing it. You had this confidence of like, you know,
Yeah, it
I'm
was
just gonna
pure
go full steam ahead and make
desperation.
it.
It was pure desperation. My dad, I can't tell you how many times my dad and my older sister until till this day they're like we were wrong. We can't believe it. But
Mm,
like they so many times I would feel terrible. I would cry because I would have this hope and this dream and my dad was like you got to get a backup plan. You have to have a backup plan. He's like it's okay
mm,
to do this, but you have to have a backup plan. Every time I heard them say that or you have to go to school, I was thinking to myself like, I would get doubt in my head
mm.
a little bit, but I was like, "Fuck this. There's nothing else I want to do." And he's like, "Well, what else do you want to do?" I'm like, "There's nothing else I want to do." I was like, "I'd rather wait tables, do all this shit for the rest of my life. I don't
Yeah.
care." So anyway, it was pure, that's where I feel like my defiance came in handy because I was so defiant, desperate, and it's like
Yeah.
acting was past a want. It
Yeah.
was a desperate need and
Yeah.
pull. I have this thing where like if I become obsessed with something, I'm sorry for my ex-boyfriend. I really am. I become so fixated and obsessed with it. So like if I get something in my head, like, I need to do it. Like, and there's nothing that's gonna stop me from doing it. That's why I like when I was with my ex and he was like ghosted me and I was like, we need to talk, we need to talk. I became an
Oh my
insane psycho
gosh.
person. Psycho. Just to get him to give me an
Wow.
answer. It was terrible. But I think but that quality in myself is what made me yeah, it made me push past all.
It makes a lot of sense. I think you're living a dream, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
I think you're living a dream, right? And it's um, and I'm really proud of you for living out that dream. And I could
Thank
tell based on working with you on the movie, talking to you, like I feel like I talk to you every other day, or almost sometimes every
We
day,
do. I think we
and
talk about it
then
every day now.
and and it's nothing but that. I think you eat, drink, sleep, entertainment. It's not like you do a lot of different things, but it's not like you don't do them well. You do them super, super well. Like your sound design capability. I mean, if you took a career out of that, you could make you could make a massive career out of sound designing. If you did a career on pretty much on editing, you could have done become a great and amazing union editor, if you wanted to. Obviously, acting is the main thing for you. I mean, you're in New York, now you're in Florida, right? But you're connected with a lot of creative people,
Yeah.
but then you do it yourself.
Yeah. Because I always have it like they can't do it as good as me. It's terrible to say. So I think all my history helps me into being able to be a one man band, and I think being able to be a one man band, I think the need being a one man band is because I don't like things like let's say I'm doing like AI friends and something that requires a lot more time. It needs to look in my head the most, like, feeling I can get out of the even if it's not shot perfect, even if it's, like,
Yeah.
some things are off, it has to feel right, and every person, unless you pay them a lot of money, and that's not what I had, right? It's hard to get someone with quality to do that, so you then are forced to into a position where you have to learn yourself so you get the quality that you want. Thank you to YouTube
Yeah.
School, because all my sound designing, all of that is from YouTube.
seeing how you guys, you know, cut it, because I'm so used, I'm kind of like you. I'm like this everything guy too, right? You
Yeah.
know, like the
Yeah.
sound mixer and whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get out of your own way, right? But then seeing it from what you guys did with it, and then seeing what we did in the beginning of it, and
Yeah.
that's not even an edit. I would just call it an assembly of it, right? And then it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the sequence based on what we was made through the script, right?
Right.
And it's like, okay, and we all both. I mean, me, I knew. I was like, okay, this is not anywhere close. But I'm
Right.
thinking like, how do you fix this?
Yeah.
What do we need to do to fix it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then seeing what you guys changed, how you flipped sequences, how you borrowed footage from scenes, I don't know how you thought about that, how Adam and you thought about that type of stuff. I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that makes
Adam
sense.
taught me this a very long time ago, which is that if you ever, like, let's say that you need a moment of realization or you need a moment of sadness or whatever, whatever it is, whatever that moment is, that you can always borrow that moment from earlier in the take. You can borrow it from few scenes later if you're wearing the same outfit, if it looks similar. Like, you can play and milk the footage is crazy. That's why I can't stand it when it's like there was this few times I've been on set where a director was um like at the end, like the director was like, use this take, use this take, use this take, use this take. And I was like, how would you, how would, like, you're not going to even give the editor a chance to really peruse that footage if you're just like, use that take. You can't, you don't know what you got. You really don't
Yeah,
know what you got until you're in the editing room, till you're watching your dailies. Because who knows, maybe there's a moment at the very, 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 very end of take 5 and you're like, oh my god, that moment of realization after we cut, she just looked away and that was brilliant, that was it. But that was after the cut. Who fucking cares if it was after the cut? It was brilliant. Put it in the shot.
that's
There's
right.
plenty of shots where, like, Grace with the broken nose, like, that wasn't even on action. That was her just waiting. It was her waiting for you to call action, and I had to flip the image horizontal
That's
because it was on
right.
the other side of the thing. But nobody knows. Nobody knows I
Nobody
flipped it
knows.
horizontal, and nobody knows that was before you called action.
So funny. I want to play a clip for you.
Okay.
Okay, let me show you my screen over here. I want to play you a clip.
Just trust me. It's gonna be good for you.
I really hate you. You know that?
All I'm asking for you is to say hi. If it gets too much, we'll go.
Okay.
Come on. It's okay.
I don't think I want to. I'm just gonna go home.
To me, I'm going to tell you why it's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
But as it relates to something else,
Okay.
because I remember this scene very explicitly, and when we executed, before I don't want to spoil it. You tell me, walk me through what was your mindset when you went into that scene
Are you talking about as an actor?
as an actor? Yep, and then as an actor and as a writer when you wrote it.
Okay, when I wrote it, this is the first scene that when I talk about characters, I just so you know, so there's context, I always say I keep the character in like I instead of she. But for this case, I'll say she. So Mary, this is the first time Mary really, for the first time, gets confronted with a direct symbol to her mother. Up until that point, it's like dad, sister, Carlos is close to the mom, like closer. But the second she sees that horse represents everything she lost with her mom. So the fear of needing to confront that is the very first time the audience gets to actually see it. Um, so for me as an actor, I have to remember putting myself back there, but I think I just, like, because I knew where I was in the script, like, I knew, okay, this is the first time that I'm experiencing that fear. I'm very closed off, but there still needs to be a hint of that fear to come out, and vulnerability, but not vulnerability enough to where like that's gonna break me, but not to come
Right.
inside, not even take a foot inside, a step inside. So
That's
for
right.
me, it was just really, I think I have it there. I have an acting sheet on it, but I put like, so I put, sometimes I just put beats, because I don't know in the moment. I don't plan how it's gonna make me react. I just put images in my head. So like fear, mother, miss my mom, never wanted to see that horse again. And remember, before that, there was that scene where he puts that subliminal thing in my head, like where he says rain's here, and I'm like, you have rain here. Rain
Mm,
is the horse. So I'm
right.
already like, I was already processing rain. So that scene wasn't a surprise to me. It was more of like, I don't want to face this.
And
Yeah.
that and that's and this is the reason why it worked out really well. You know why? Because for me as a director, I remember where it was like it's like wall to wall shots. And there's not much time to think
Uh,
of the story and everything else, right? And so I knew what the scene was about, but my idea of the scene wasn't with rain. That's the irony of it. My idea of
Really?
the story was you entering the barn. There's a
Wait, explain
difference.
to me this again.
There's
Tell me
so
again.
you know when the shot with the
Oh,
feet. That's the reason why I needed the feet shot. I remember telling Horatio DP our DP. I said I need to have the feet shot because this references Field of Dreams, the movie, and so it was the idea of you going into the barn, not with rain, and that's the reason why that shot that you saw. You told me to put the horse shot in
that's
there.
why you were confused.
We didn't shoot the horse.
No.
Remember that horse shot. This is like a spoiler over here. That horse shot was a borrowed shot. It's
Yeah.
an accidental shot that we got.
Yes.
And you would notice that shot was used multiple times in the film. And so in my head, the barn was a symbol of your
Interesting.
fear.
Interesting. Yeah, no, to me it was directly correlated to the horse. That's why that's why I was like, Chloe, we need to get the horse. You're like, oh. I'm like, where's the horse?
Yeah, where's the horse shot? And we didn't have time for to shoot the horse. We
I
didn't.
know, I
The horse
know.
wasn't even there.
I know.
Think about it. Think about the sequences because the sequence later on, because we shot, remember, we're shooting everything out of order,
Yeah,
right?
that's
The
right.
next scene, or maybe the scene, I forgot how we shot it, is the shot when you're inside the barn and then you're petting the horse, but there's no horse to pet.
Yes,
The
we were
horse wasn't
faking
there.
it.
We're faking everything.
Yeah.
Because you know why?
Yeah.
Because this is good for filmmakers that watches this. The logistics matter so much, and your AD and your script supervisor matters so much. They have to have a full understanding of the story. Me as a director, I have no time to think about the story as much
Yeah.
as I should be because I'm being bombarded by producers, by everybody asking me all these questions. I'm going in there, it's like,
Oh.
all right, Eliana, thank God you're the writer.
The problem is we didn't have enough prep time. So like for you to learn the script as well as I did, you need a few months, right? That's why it's a
Yeah.
good thing I was there because I knew it so well that I knew that if you needed something to push the story forward, like an insert.
Directing on an independent film, shooting in 13 days is not what people. It's a very different directing process. It becomes a heavy of producing, logistics, and getting it coverage.
Oh yeah, that's why it's important to have someone you trust that knows the story better than you, so that way, if like you were really good at listening to me when I said you need this, and whether or not we fought over like, do you have enough time or do we really need it? Like, there's been a few conversations where like, Eliana, do we really, really need this? And then we fight over it why I think we do, or we fight over it why we didn't, or we compromise. Like, I think me and you did a lot of like compromise, which is good. Because I was
Mhm.
like, oh, we need this, but you're like, but we don't have time. And then you're like, well, what if we did this instead? And I was like, and then I would see it and I was like, okay, that's good. Like the time where Jacelyn, I thought you were gonna cut that scene. I'm like, you can't cut that scene. That's the
Which
best scene
scene?
in
Which
the
scene?
whole
Which one?
film.
Which scene is that?
The scene where it was like, "Will you go out with me?" That's like the best scene in the whole film for me.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No
And I
way.
was
I
like,
wasn't cutting that out.
yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah. But I remember when it was originally designed, it was supposed to be like them in the same area, but you're like, he's over there, she's over here. We gotta compromise. And I loved it much more now that it was like they were talking from across the room where they can't, which is interesting, because she's deaf. So the talking across the room worked really well.
Do you have a date yet? Do you have Every bell is ringing. It's a holiday love, and now it's only us. Magic all around. It's what Christmas.
Okay, let's talk about the whole situation that day,
Crazy.
First of all, it's an hour and 45-minute drive to get to the location in the
Crazy.
snow, right?
Crazy.
And the day I would say a day or 2 days before that, I drove through the storm, icy roads, and literally swerving, trying just to see the location, right?
I know.
So I knew what we were handling when we got there, and plus we're dealing with daylight or wherever it is, Let me tell you this, and this is where I shoot at you on things, but I felt like everyone was against me that day, right? I felt like everyone was clawing at me. Khoa, so let's start with the producers. Khoa, do we have enough time? I got the AD saying the snowstorm is coming. Khoa, I got the kids, they got to get out of here within like 6 hours, and then I got the parents are getting restless, and then I got like Khoa. From you, did we get this shot? We need this shot. We have to have this shot. And I got Horatio saying that I'm telling Horatio, he goes, you need to cut down on shots, Khoa. We don't have time. So I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I
to nail
remember
that
you were
shot.
turning at some point after I got what I wanted in the compromise. At some point, I just see your face turning red, and I'm like,
I was
Khoa is turning red, and all of a sudden I got so concerned. I went up to you. I'm like, Khoa. I put my
I
hands in.
know, I
I put my
remember
hands
that.
in. I'm like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, no, I'm not okay. And I'm like, you're doing a great job. And you're like, I'm not. And you just roll your eyes. You're like, I'm like, you're doing good. And he's like, yeah. And you were so upset. But you know what?
Holy crap.
It was crazy that day.
That was an insane day.
That was
And
one of the most intense days that we had on that set.
it
that.
was. But you know what? My priority was ensuring that we got story. I wanted to make sure that this is the situation, right? There's a more pro than con to this, but you're the lead actress, you're the writer.
I know.
If I screwed that part up, I lose both.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm
that's true.
saying?
That's true.
So my first priority is to make sure I took care of the actress, right? And then, making sure that you're as happy as you can be
Oh,
at
shit.
the same time is getting bombarded with all these nonsense stuff. But they were sensible stuff because they all have to do their jobs,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Safety,
It's
blah,
such
blah, blah, kids, everything else. So, for any filmmakers that's watching this, right, and they're learning how to filmmaking, directing is not what you actually really think it is when it comes to low budget independent stuff. It's not at all. It becomes very technical. It becomes very logistical as well because the team that we had, I can't say that it was the best logistical team, but they did what they can be based on their experience, and that's okay. And so, but then everything falls on the director at it, and so it's kind of like, okay, we got to get this thing done, otherwise it's gonna look like crap. And then I look at it as like, okay, we're gonna be wasting a lot of time, or we're gonna have a crappy film if we don't execute this,
Right.
But
Right.
I have to give it to the actors. I mean, actors, we all have to execute at the same time when you think about it, because all I'm doing is like, okay, I'm coordinating where it is, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, you guys have to be in front of the camera. If you guys don't get these takes right,
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like
all dead in
sometimes
the
we only
water.
get like one
two
or two
takes
takes.
per setup,
Yeah,
1 or 2
that's it.
takes.
And it's hard. Like in terms of like the acting side, I think, like I said, acting is the easiest job. But when you are an actor, the writer, and you're trying to, and I was trying to help you make sure you get what you needed and make sure with the
Yep.
story. And I was like the mama bear for the story because
You're right. Yeah, it's right. That's
I was
exactly
like, I
right.
have to be ruthless. Because at that point, like I said, I didn't care about how I looked. I didn't care about being liked by anyone. I only cared that this story survives, right? That's all I
Yeah,
cared.
that's right.
So when you're dealing with all that and having to act, it does become very difficult because your brain has to, okay, you're on, you're off. You're on, you're off. You're on, you're off. And honestly, thank God to my training. I thank God to my training as an actor because I, if I didn't have as much training as I did, I wouldn't have been able to perform as I did
Mm,
without, and I didn't have an acting set coach. You know, I didn't have someone, I mean, Marshall helped me a lot when sometimes he'll talk in my ear. Like if there was emotional scenes and I was like, he would talk in my ear and he would help me like calm my brain down before I go into a scene. And that helps
mm.
a lot. Or sometimes music does that for me. So instantly I could be like, okay, I listened to music for 30 seconds. I'm like, okay, no, I'm not ready. I gotta go. And then that helps me relax enough to then be in. But it's so hard. And then we only get 2 takes. That's why at the very, very end, in that monologue, I said, Khoa, you need to give me 3. I don't care if I get it on the first one. I don't care if I get it on the second one. I want 3.
What's your problem?
You're so bitter and cruel. Are you acting like this because you have some major crisis? Are you dying? Do you have cancer? Like, I can't figure you out.
I remember that you were getting your, actually there we didn't have a makeup artist for 2 weeks, and then we didn't have a costume
No
designer for 2
costume.
weeks.
Right.
So we only had them for 1 week, really, right? That's all production could afford.
Yeah.
Um, which is insane. And so, and I did promise 3 takes, which is insane as well. And there's no rehearsals, so that's why I have to appreciate the actors, the whole entire cast, because directing is nothing without the cast, right? When we're ready to go, and it's not like I'm sitting with you and just spending an hour talking about what we're gonna be doing, the story, blah blah blah. I said, Eliana, okay, this is what this scene is about, right? Let me confirm with you, from a writing perspective. Okay, I'm not asking you how you're gonna perform. You're gonna just do what you need to do because you already know what that character is about. So I don't need. So that takes the burden off of me. First of all, directors are not acting coaches.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
letting
No, they're
people know
not.
that at
They're
all,
not.
right?
That's
They're
why
not,
people have
and
acting
so
coaches. That's why they do have acting coaches because the director's worried about so many things that a coach is like entirely all the coach needs to do is focus on the acting. The director is too much to worry about. You can't coach and be a director at the same, like it's just like you, I mean you
that's right.
could if you had all the time. If you're only doing like 2
But
pages a day, but
you
even
you're
still.
right, and but what's amazing is, like, I mean, and I think this is across the board with all the actors, especially you. I mean, because you took the whole. Yeah, I mean, you're in every scene, right? And so, but it's like when you call action, it's like you transform into something else, and then you become it, right? You become Mary, you become the character, but there's so much. I mean, because you wrote it out, I'm sure that was easier. But then it's like, you got your. I want you to like kind of talk it through with like, with the future filmmakers that want, aspiring filmmakers, where they are like, as an actress, these are the things that you're dealing with, and you have to be ready to go when the crew's ready to go, because when you think of, let's talk business over here. It's 10, 15, $20,000
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
day that you're
Yeah.
burning, and you get it, every time you get that take wrong, you just burned hundreds of dollars.
I know. It's so crazy. I was talking with Courtney Gaines. We were like, it's crazy. You take 30 minutes of setup, but you only give the actors 2 takes, right? So
Yeah,
it's insane. It's really, when you think about it, the logic is crazy because you take lighting's perfect, all that. And if the performance is shit, then what's so great about the edge light that you did or the dynamics? I mean, the performance is crappy,
exactly.
but honestly, it's just so crazy because you're just trying. I mean, but also in the editing room, you can take a performance. I mean, I really believe you can make an Academy winning performance in the editing room, and you can make an Academy winning actor in the editing room look like a shitty actor. It's just how you cut.
Yeah, yeah,
Seriously, like seriously, it's how you cut someone, what takes you use, I mean, like how you react and respond. But for me, I mean, just to answer your question, for people that want to do both, you have to be really great at your craft first, whichever that craft is. So, like, my chosen craft that got me into this was acting, right? So, like I said to you, I wanted to be an Academy Award winning actor. And whether that means Academy Award, it doesn't mean Academy Award. It means, or maybe it does, but it means to me now, it means the quality, the quality of what an Academy Award winning actress can do. And in every scene, do I perform that way? No. But do I have moments where I hit pockets of that? I feel like I hit pockets of that.
you certainly did.
And for me, like, that is, it's such a, it's a testament to my training and my dedication. And that's why I think, like, no matter what happens at the end of the day, because I was trained in Meisner and all these other things, but Meisner is very present. And because I was blessed that I was trained in Meisner, it doesn't matter if a shit frick bricks hit the ceiling, I can get into the scene quickly because I know at the end of the day, if I had nothing, if I absolutely had nothing, just me and the other actor, I would be able to perform because I'm here with you. Because if you think about life,
How though? Like how is it like, I from a directing, it's I can't be in your brain. So
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
is it that flips it for
It's
you?
no flipping, it's being present. So, like, how me and you are in a conversation right now?
Yeah.
You are either right now with me, you're over here with me when I'm talking, or you're thinking about something in the future to talk next, or you're reacting to what I'm saying, but your conscious self, is either with me or you're thinking over here. So when it's with me, that feeling that you get when, like, let's say your first time you ever have a cup of coffee with someone you really like, right? You're
Mhm.
like with them and you're so connected with them, and everything in the world kind of feels like it kind of dulls out. That's what
Yep.
that's presence. And you can have that presence with anyone. And if you have that presence, you can go on an emotional journey with anyone, anywhere, anytime. And that is what I mean. It's just like this presence of one human being to another human being. And then with
Mm.
acting, you're so, when there's that much presence, you're so free that, because I already have a history and I built what I needed to build with Mary, like, I knew what was happening, I knew my relationship, because all that was built, being, I knew whatever I needed in the scene would exist because of the building blocks that I have. And if it didn't come, like, if the tears didn't come, then the tears don't come. Like, you can't force yourself to cry, you can't force yourself to laugh. And if you try or you think you have to, you get tripped up, or you might start crying in a scene you thought you wouldn't have this huge emotional response. And, like, when I got the doll, I didn't know I was going to get hysterical like that.
Yeah.
You
And you
know,
only that was only one take. You
that
did
was
that in
one
one
take.
take. That was a one take shot. We didn't have any other coverage. That was
Right.
it.
Right. But I didn't know I was going to get hysterical when I saw the doll. Right? It's just I think it's just about letting the moment sit and just having it, like, like Adam Stoner always said to me. He's like, "What's your emotional bed?" Because at the end of the day, if you have your emotional bed, which is like what you're coming in with, and you cover that. And the same thing with Jane Kelly, a great coach of mine too, the first one I told you I ever went to. She was always about, like, what's underneath and what are you masking it with? And then after that, like, it's just a dance in the conversation, because we don't know in life how we're going to say something. We don't know
Yeah.
how we're going to feel. We just we know what we need to get from you, and it's a bouncing. That's why acting with yourself is really crappy. And that's why Meryl Streep says she can't act with someone unless she sees their eyes, because the second she sees their eyes, she finds out who she is as a character. And I truly believe that.
I want to play this scene,
All right.
Eliana.
Well,
Oh yeah,
you're gonna
I love
have
this
to
scene too. I do love this scene.
buy my
And
dad a
this was
new
an
one.
improv scene,
So, good luck.
in my opinion.
I'll manage.
In a
Yeah?
way. Yeah.
I remember we just did it. We kind of let the cameras roll, and everyone was kind of like, "There's no rehearsals.
Very.
We just let it. We just let them do their thing.
slow.
We just let you guys do your thing."
I almost tripped there. Yeah.
Armando did talk about what he wanted to do. We wanted to tease, right? That's exactly what you were talking about. It's like you're in the moment of it, right? And
Yeah.
that was not part of the script. I remember that was not part of the script. It was more about, okay, what is the scene about? The scene is about you two gaining that connection,
Yeah.
and it's taking the hat. I think in the scene, I think there's a kiss, but I did suggest. I remember, or we talked about it. Said maybe we shouldn't kiss because
Yeah.
that's kind of like give it away too early.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like this reminds me of like an early 90s film of like teasing it but not giving it away.
Yes.
Because, originally in the script, in the original script, it turned into like this whole like not sex scene, but leading to that. Because originally it was written that these two were lovers, not lovers, but they loved each other. They were the same age when they were a lot younger. And that this point they've been waiting so long that obviously it would lead to that. But because he was older, and that would have been so freaking weird,
Yeah.
we changed it. And obviously, like, there's no if there was none of that like electricity before that, it means they have to build it now. And
Yes.
honestly, I think it's better that they didn't kiss there, because then it there's more of like a, how old movies, they made you wait for it. They really did. They made you wait for
I
it.
still believe in that. I still believe in that type of.
They
You
make you wait.
You want to kind of feed the audience, but
You
you
wanna
want
tease
to
them.
reward the audience.
Like, I used to watch television shows where I really want actors to like end up together. And in the second season, they would end up together. And at that point, you just feel like all the butterflies, because you waited so long, that it's like they earned it. They really earned being together. And nowadays, it's just like 2 or 3 episodes, they're already in it. And I'm like, where do we go now? We're already there. Now you guys got to break up. The only next thing to happen is something happens where you break up, so there's drama again.
Like, here's the thing. This is a good lesson. This is a good education for the filmmakers. You're
Yeah.
at home, you're watching it. Oh, I need to go pee. Or I need to get a cup of coffee, or where it is. And then by the time she comes back, I remember she gives me this feedback. She goes, "Khoa, I saw the barn multiple times." I said, "Wait, that's a weird feedback." I said, "What do you mean the multiple times? It's like back to back." He said, it's like, "Do you watch the movie?" That's what I asked her. I said, "Yeah, I watched the movie." And then I realized, when she sat there watching the movie on screen and she's looking at it, and I could see her tearing up. I said, "Were you tearing up the first time you watched it?" "No." "Yeah, because you're finally paying attention." And that's the difference. And that's the difference between what culture is today,
Yeah.
is what TV actually does and hurts the storytelling.
Yeah.
Massively.
I mean, part of like, I know it's so funny because I'm feeding into the problem, but that's what happens with, TikTok. Literally, I'm feeding the problem, the monster, which is that, we're addicted to fast fixes, and that, yeah, people, I don't know how many people actually have time to sit there. Unless you hook people right away, they're just like this. Or like they have,
Yeah.
like you said, they have kids. Like my sister Kenzie, she's like, some of the stuff I missed because I wasn't fully paying attention. because I had to deal with other things in the house, etc. Here's the thing that I learned about that in terms of storytelling is that when you have a story that is driven through dialogue, mainly, and I would say this is a dialogue driven story way more than it is a visual one. There
Hmm.
is elements that if you miss, there's cues, but it is dialogue driven. And the problem with that is like when you have so much dialogue driven, if you miss something,
That's
you
right.
don't fully grasp it. Because when someone says something, now you got to interpret it. Now you got to hear it. Now you got to see it and to understand versus if you're being shown something, the audience has way more interpretation. They're
Yep.
included way more and immersed way more because they're creating way more meaning. I'm not saying
Mhm.
dialogue is bad. There's some really great dialogue, but if it's a story without movement through pictures, then it's like then is it? I mean, then yeah, I mean it's more of like a play on film, right? So
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like you grasp something more emotionally when you're watching something versus being told. And that's like a huge lesson for me is like, okay, in the future stories, less dialogue. How do we say the same thing through
Yep.
pictures? How do we say this exact same scene in shots, in faces,
That's
in
right.
moments? Because
Yes.
if you see me look away with no words, you can then create meaning. And now you as an audience, you're more involved. I think maybe that I feel like that's where I lacked in this more in the storytelling, which is in the in the visual storytelling filmatically that could have happened if I wrote differently. I mean, this is my second feature I ever wrote, so
No,
I'm
but here's the thing. If you voted differently, it wouldn't have been made. You know why?
because it would have
Because
been too much to make.
telling the story just do visually is too expensive.
Yeah, it's
You,
true. That's true.
way too much time to build out. They wouldn't have the budget for that. You have to tell the story through dialogue, regardless. That's the nature of a low budget film, right? Unfortunately that's the case. All right, and I mean nobody felt this was like a low budget film
No,
at
no.
all, right? We felt it, but it was, as from filmmakers, but anyone that watches it, they would think you know, this was a much bigger film
Right.
I would say than the Hallmark.
I also think I really lacked in the second act. I feel like the second act like
It's
slowed
the hardest
down.
act.
It really is. It's so hard. And even Adam
It's
says
the hardest act.
Adam says
Yeah.
that you can write a great beginning. You can write an amazing end. He's like, but your middle act is so hard because it's like it is that rising action. And if you lose sight of where you are in it, then it's kind of
Yes.
like like so what happened was because I was thinking about I was like, remember we were trying to cut the film down and we're like, but we can't cut this. We can't
Where?
cut this. We can't cut
Where?
this. Like how could and maybe the issue was that maybe 5 scenes that I did, right? That I wrote could have happened in one scene. That could have been
Mm.
constructed in a way cuz we couldn't have taken anything out to have told the story
Yeah,
we needed to have told in the time we had.
that's right.
But I could have constructed the sequences in a way where it was one, so that way it eliminated 4 or 5 scenes, but it still accomplished what we needed to accomplish. So it would have
Mm.
shortened it. Because I was like thinking, I kept going over it over and over and over again. I'm like, where could I we have cut? Where could we have cut? Where could we have cut? And I think I just got to the answer of we couldn't have cut because I didn't design it in the way that we could have cut and it would have worked out. The only thing that I could have done was to reconstruct some of the scenes so that in the writing, it, it accomplished the same thing but quicker.
I think it's a double-edged sword, really, at the end of the day. I think it depends on who's watching it too.
That's
Some
true.
people think that they didn't feel like 2 hours. Some people think that they look at it as, oh, it's way too long. Yes, I could agree that, from us editing it, I think that, yes, it does drag a bit, but then it picks it up.
It does.
And then you forget what happens in the middle, right? And so, but I think it's not just, I think it's almost every film struggles with the second act. There's
Yes.
plenty of films that I watch where it's like, oh my god, I mean that's how hard it is. Maybe there needs to be another structure involved. Maybe doing 6-act structure. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I know, but
It's a 3-act structure.
I did a 6 act I broke it down into 6 acts, but I lost the I filled it with a lot of fluff. So like if you think about the snowman scene, them breaking in, it's fluff. It's funny, but it was fluffy. So it's like,
Mm.
okay, what could I have done that would have accomplished that scene and have accomplished the previous scene and would have accomplished the scene after? No, no, not the scene after it. But I feel like, where do you feel like the film starts picking back up, right? When they get into the barn with the hat? Do you feel like that's where it picks up, or do you feel like,
I loved I think I love the snowman scene, right? I think the things before snowman
yes,
was where it started dragging.
I think it drags the second when I go back home, I meet Colton. It starts dragging there. Then I
Yeah.
go home, it picks up a little bit, but it's still kind of like slow. And then with Carlos, all the way until the ball.
Yeah.
And after the ball, after I start dancing with my dad again, then the story
Mm.
starts picking up because there's conflict again. I think what happened was I lost the sense of the conflict for her, really.
Yeah.
And that
You
rise
know
in
what?
action.
It could have been because of the additional character, because you have Cynthia, which is the sister,
It
you
might
know?
be. It might
And
have
there's a
been.
couple holes in the sister, right? Because we never opened up with who she was in the beginning. So she kind of appeared like she's
Yeah,
like the
it's
mother or
like she
something like
wasn't
that.
even there. Honestly, if I would have, I even thought about that. I was like, oh, I should have had her in that first scene. Because people were like, who the heck? Who the fuck is this woman?
Yeah, who is that? That's the comment. That was the comment thing. Who is that
They're like,
girl?
who is
Who is
that? Is
she?
that her mom? Like, nobody knew who she
And
was.
then this is a perfect thing. Like, we said it in dialogue, but people missed
Missed
that
it. They missed
completely.
it.
And we said it twice, and they missed
And they
it.
missed it. Yeah, exactly. That's why dialogue doesn't
You
work
know?
as well. It doesn't work as well unless it's like, unless it's said a million times. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't work as well unless
That's
it's there.
right. It
You
it
give
has
it.
to be shown,
But you know
right?
what? My favorite scene that there was of me, like, still one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing was the one that you cut, on the porch. I get why you're mad. What was I supposed to do? Like, I don't know, stay here forever? I'm sorry. Like, I couldn't do that. And I get like I could have handled it a little better.
You think?
I think the
Mm,
porch with me and Cynthia, I think, is the best scene in terms of character conflict between two people, the
yeah.
dialogue of history, and that the dialogue is so, if you look at the scene, the dialogue is so surfacey and they're talking about a deal. That's what they're talking, that's what they're saying. But underneath, there is all this hatred, this history, this abandonment, this fear, this
That's
betrayal.
right.
And it's all there in that scene with the dialogue being so like 1.8, 1 point. And it wasn't catty. It was like,
Yeah.
that to me is the magic of a scene. And I mean, I feel like that was the best one. That was the best written
I remember when we
one.
shot it, I felt it right away, right? What you guys did and how you guys performed the pacing around things and moving it around the shots, I thought that was really, really the blocking of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
thought that was really, really cool as well. Yeah, I mean, like when we were editing it, look, I always try to edit with subtext, right? What is the meaning between as much as I can out
yeah,
of it?
yeah,
But so I'm glad that you did recognize that type of stuff too,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But you can't do that for every scene, you know? You can't do it for every scene because you got to keep moving the story forward. Once you established it, now what happens afterward, how you take that
It's
and
really about,
accelerate
it's
it.
all about planting. It really is.
Yeah,
It's
planting. That's
all
right, planting.
planting messaging, planting. So that way, that's why Adam and I, originally in the script, we had the scene where I get the doll early on because Adam was like, in the script, it was like that. Early on, I got the doll back. That's why we cut it in two places. But Adam was like, if you get the doll back now, she can start questioning, was he a good dad this whole time? Because
Mm,
of, did he throw away the doll? Did I throw away the doll? Like she had it such in her head that he was a hard ass and he didn't care, and the mom was the soft one. But that's why we pushed it later, because it wasn't working in the spot that it was in, because it just it needed it later on for her to then think, I gotta go fight. Because here's also where I lacked in the storytelling, is I lacked in the reason for her to truly fight back to him, because it's always been a character that's been doing, like, things being done to her. But it's like, did
Yeah.
she really hit a huge breaking point? I don't know. I don't know if just the horse being taken away was the largest one. Like, maybe something else needed to happen where she really felt like she had to hit more of a breaking to point to really have a fight. That's why we put the scene with the doll there right before that.
Look, I think that there's a lot of other things underneath the surface that people are not seeing. First of all, you had to rewrite the script
Yeah.
because it had to there was some politics involved in the film. I'm just letting people know that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's politics.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, when I talk about, I mean, I get ridiculed on this type of stuff. I say that story is king, but in the indie level, on this type of level, story is not the king. The politics becomes the king, the budget becomes the king, and you have to cater to the story based on the needs in order for us to make the story.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up happening. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And so you had a lot
I
of
literally rewrote.
um
I had to rewrite the whole thing within 3 months. I remember
you had
I
to
almost
rewrite it
quit.
to cater to certain instances that who wants to be in
Right.
it, who wants to play certain
Yeah.
parts, blah blah
I
blah,
was
all this
not,
type of
I
stuff.
was going to quit. And I was like, Khoa, I was like, Khoa, I'm quitting. I'm not doing this. And you were like, listen to me. This is when I knew, like, I loved you. The second we had this conversation, I was like, I love him. I was gonna quit, and you were like, here, you've got an option. You can say no, and that's an opportunity lost. You're not gonna get back. It's gonna be gone. Or you can say yes. And some opportunity, this is an opportunity. Will it be a shit show? Probably. But it can be a really powerful opportunity if you let it. And I was like, okay, Khoa, I'll do it. Because I like you. And then I ended up, because legit, I was going to be like, because I remember having the conversation with Marshall so many times. I was like, he's like, do you really want to do this if this is the condition? And I was like, I don't know. But he's like, but then you were like, if it's it's your first feature film, yeah, there's gonna be hiccups. And then I don't know. I'm really glad we did it at the end. I'm glad we're
Yeah.
here. Now we know, okay, going to the next one, what are we, I think you learn stuff along the way. And I think you also learn, like, where is the boundary, like, where is the true boundary for yourself? And you don't
Yeah.
really know what the true boundary is if you haven't gone through it.
Yeah.
Not saying go date
Yeah,
someone that you know is bad
and
for
that's
you.
why it says, like, this is filmmaking is more than telling a story. I'm telling you, that's
Yeah.
what it is. Like, it's the filmmaking is super hard to do because you're dealing with a lot of BS around it. And unfortunately, that's not just us. That happens across a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And it's worse. And at least we finished the film, right? At least we finished it. We did it, and we got to distribute it. Most films
Yeah.
don't even finish, and most of them don't even get distributed when they finish,
Yeah. I
right?
mean,
And so,
yeah.
and then to get the results that we got out of it, I mean, to me, that's like, I mean, hats off to you, hats off to the team and everything else. But and this is not an excuse, right? And this is not just patting ourselves on the back. But this is a lesson learned, and that's the point of the show, right? That's the point why we're doing this. And so, hopefully, someone that are trying to make independent films, it's never going to be perfect, and then you have to cater if you want the funding, and you have to insert that daughter or the wife or whatever into the movie in order to get that $100,000 or $200,000 of funding. Guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna do it, and you're gonna write them in, even though they're not perfect for the part or not perfect for the story. And that's the reality of it, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I think those are the things that you have to work with. I'm not saying I don't want to be like
Yeah.
reveal.
But no, I know. But being flexible, I think you have to be as You have to be, because I know I have friends and I know people that have they they're brilliant, but they've never made a film because they need it to be perfect.
That's
Or
right.
I have friends that are brilliant that, maybe they would do even better than I would do online, but they're afraid to post because they need it to be perfect. And I'm like, if we constantly strive for perfect, you're never going to make anything. Have you heard of the
Yeah.
analogy of like the people that went to photography school? Have you ever heard of this analogy? It's pretty brilliant. Changed.
Not yet.
Okay, so I'll
What is
tell it
it?
to you. A group of people go to this photography school, big, huge photography school. And at the end of the term, they take the class and they split the group up. They have an A group and they have a B group. In the A group, they are told, okay, for your final semester exam, you're going to go out into the world and you're going to take 100 pictures. Okay, 100 pictures, and out of those 100 pictures, you're going to come back and we're going to grade you. And then the teacher looks to the B group and they're like, okay, you're going to take one perfect picture. So what happened? Group B, or no, Group A. Well, actually, let me ask you first. Which group do you think at the end of the semester gets the A, and which one do you think gets the worst grade?
I would say the group A, right?
The group that took a lot of pictures?
The one that took a lot of pictures.
Yes. They got the biggest, they get the highest grade. Why? Because they realized that the group A was out there in the world and they were doing it, because art is so subjective, and it's not, it was
Yes.
like they have 100 chances for someone to look at something and be like, wow, that's beautiful. That's amazing. And then the group B that took one spent 6 months theorizing what is the perfect
The
photo.
perfect picture.
And the
Yeah.
perfect picture might be someone else's. This is crap.
Yes,
So,
crap. Exactly.
so at the end of the day, what that teaches you, or the fable, or whatever that is that it's better doing. Because I always thought quality over quantity, and I'm not talking about quality over quantity. I'm really talking about the doing versus
Yeah.
the being afraid of doing, because you're afraid that it's not. And that's a part of me that's like that's where like I battle with myself. Like, I'll jump in the pool even though I'm not ready, but
Yeah.
I rather jump in the pool. I rather fucking swim or drown,
That's
because
right.
I want to be in the fucking water. I don't
That's
want to
right.
be wanting to be in the water and not getting in
Yeah.
because I'm afraid. And so if I float, great. If I fail, great. But maybe tomorrow I'm going to be fantastic, So it's just kind of like, I think if
And
we
here's
don't
the thing.
go, we're
And then
not
here's
going
the
to make
thing. I
anything.
mean, you must have put in. I have to let me just take a wild guess. Over 200,000 hours of work into your craft so far,
I'm sure.
or maybe even more than that,
Probably
right?
even more. Probably, yeah.
Maybe more than
I
that.
eat, breathe,
And
sleep. I'm obsessed with it. There's not, it is my second, uh, boyfriend. I am cheating on my husband with my acting and filmmaking, lover over here. like,
that's right.
like,
And you have to
yeah,
do that. You have to
yeah,
do that. I think that, I got I'm not gonna name who they are. I got people that I want to raise all this money, and they never shot a short film. They never even they don't even know, they never been on a set.
yeah,
And they want to make a movie that they have no idea how to make. And they want to hire a bunch of people to put it together and not go through the rounds of mistakes or where it is
yeah,
and I'm thinking like, why? Why? And I don't understand that. And then I see you something like yourself, or even myself, and other people, like other people that are similar like us. We put in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours into something where we could just look at something and we just come natural, just like you're acting, right? It's like you kind of know and you just kind of click into it, right? And I see some people, like me. For me, from a directing standpoint, I could just look at a scene, I could block it without having to go through a rehearsal. I don't need to, it
right,
just kind of
right. It's
come
that
come through
practice.
it. But that's kind of like natural. That's
Yeah.
not natural. That's because you put the work in. You
Yeah.
know.
People are like, "Oh, you woke up being able to do this." I'm like, "No." I'm like, do you want to see me acting? I'm pretty sure I have a video somewhere of me acting when I was 15. I was not good. You
Yeah.
know, like I had passion, I had drive. And honestly, at the end of the day, even in class, when I was in New York, like I wasn't the best one in the room. And I remember being so frustrated because I was like the last person that would get it. And I remember my teacher, I'll never forget his name, Steve P, but I don't remember his last name. Polar, I don't know. But he was amazing because he said to me, because I was so frustrated, I was crying, I wasn't getting it, and everyone else was crying and I wasn't. And he was like, Eliana, he's like, you got to see yourself as a fruit tree. They might be weeds, but you are a seed, and underneath the soil, you're growing all of these roots. And one day he's like, you're going to be a fruit tree. And it might take 10 years, but he's like, you're going to have fruit and it's going to be amazing. And he changed my life by saying that to me. I love you, Steve. I don't know where you are, but
Yeah.
he changed my life because it created patience. It created that, oh, I don't have to be like them right now. I'm going to grow, and I'm going to grow as fast or as slow. But as long as I keep going, and at the end of the day, like you pass people, not because you're better than them, not because you're more talented than them. You pass them because your drive, you just keep driving. You don't fucking stop. And at some point they run out of gas because it's like, it's tiring, but it's like there's just like this need for you to keep going and going and going. And as long as you don't stop, there's no way you don't get better, or you don't, like, you can't just say, oh, I can't do it because I don't have the talent. That's not true. Not everybody is born with the talent to do it. I wasn't born with the talent to do it. I was born with the drive. I wasn't born with anything. I created the drive, or a drive was born
Yeah.
into me. And that's what gets you to being, like, also, I didn't do drugs, I didn't drink, and I didn't smoke. I think that was a big,
We got distribution, right?
yeah,
Through Vision Films, right? And but when they released it on November 12th, and for weeks it did nothing.
yeah,
No traction or anything like
yeah.
that, right? And then you come on and say, okay, I'm ready to post, Khoa. Okay, I'm gonna post on the Saturday, and then we're gonna drop the trailer in. But I don't know if you prepped it. I don't know what happened, but
No,
you
I just did
drop
it.
it.
I just dropped it.
You just dropped it, and all of a sudden it's like it buzzes everywhere.
It's the
Everywhere.
power
I
of
mean,
social
like
media.
literally everyone's sharing it, stories and da da da, all that type of stuff. And I'm thinking like, it was because of your platform at the end
Yeah,
of the day.
yeah. It was really powerful, honestly, because the video, like, I know that if I do 20 of these about Christmas Cowboy, one of them is going to go to 1 million. To me, 1 million and above is viral, right?
Mm.
But and I know is the more I do it, one of them could pop to 1 million. But it didn't even go to 1 million, and it went crazy. It went to
Yeah.
the one video I made went to, like, I think 255 or 290,000, which is a lot of people, but it's still, that created a ton of interest, and then people were buying it and sharing it and making videos, and I was getting so emotional because I was like, oh, no one's gonna like it, and then I'm like, no, they like, my fans are really on my side, and they really want me to make film, and they're gonna watch my stuff because they've been following me since the beginning. They know of the struggle. They know how much I've been trying. And yeah, I think the
Yeah.
power of social media is so crazy. I think I got like 3,000 emails in a couple of hours just because I mean, on IMDb, it went to 10,000. It went to 10K, and it was at like millions. You know what I mean? Like, the star meter went to 10K.
It's insane. I mean, I mean, it just kind of shows that we live in a different time. We live in a great time. But you spent years building out your social platform,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I'm not sure that you were positioning this to happen for it. But I think
No.
it's more like so. I mean, so let me walk me through or talk to me about why did you get into social media?
I got
Why did you
in
build it? I had a
because
YouTube since 2007. I just could never sustain it, and it was just
yeah.
so hard for me to do that, something
No,
like that, you
to
know?
be completely honest, I got my first. It was like September. I was in Utah and I was auditioning for a where you can see the buffaloes. Buffaloes are like walking outside, and I was auditioning in the bathroom for Investigation Discovery. Do you know what Discovery is? It's where they
Is
reenact.
it like the homicide type of stuff,
Yes,
the
they
murder mystery?
reenact
Yep.
it, and I auditioned for this
Mhm.
role for. It's called. It was Lisa Phalange. She got murdered by her husband. I got this call back, and I'm doing this callback with Marshall as my reader and like a laptop like this in a Zoom callback. And I'm hysterically
Mm.
crying, screaming, and the director and the casting agent's like, "Oh my god, we love you." The next day, I was like, I was just like left that callback thinking, "Wow, like if I don't book it, I don't fucking care." That was like the best performance I ever gave up to that point.
Mm.
And I get the role. The next day, I'm on the role. I'm high on life or whatever. 3 days before I go to shoot, or a week before, I can't remember the exact day, I get a call. Sorry, Eliana, they're going with someone else. Why? The
Ugh.
director and the casting director, they said they love you. They tried to fight for you, but the head executive said that you don't look tough enough. So I'm in Marshall's office and I'm bawling, crying hysterically. And I'm like, and Marshall had to shut his office door because we're in a lawyer's office and I'm hysterically crying over this lead. It was the first, you can imagine, like for 10 years of my life, I've been auditioning. To finally get a lead on something on television felt like a huge win. Like you don't understand what that's like. And then in that
Mm.
moment, I felt like, oh my gosh, of course I'm not getting it. Of course there's something wrong with me. Like, of course I'm
Mm.
losing it because there's something wrong with me that, of course, like the universe is not giving me this because I don't deserve it, or I did something wrong in my life. And I'm thinking of all this karma, all this. I'm like, what did I do? And after that, I was like, I'm gonna quit acting.
Oh, wow, really?
I
Wow.
really I was
That's
thinking
wild.
about it. I don't think I ever would have done it, but the thought of I should quit because I'm never gonna make this was
Yeah.
huge. And I remember Marshall saying, Eliana, you have to go on social media. And I'm like, Marshall, I don't want to be that actress. I don't want to be that actress that's on social media. Like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be seen like that. And he's like, look, listen to me. You should do this. So then I started trying to grow Instagram, and it was kind of like, kind of growing, kind of not growing. And then Marshall heard about what's happening with Charlie D'Amelio, who was a good dancer. I mean, she's a great dancer, contemporary dancer, but she was going viral for these videos. And Marshall's like, you got to get on, you got to get on TikTok. I was like, "Ugh, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to do it." He's like, you got to do it. So I started
Mm.
posting 4 times a day. And at first it was ridiculous videos. It was just ridiculous. And then I hit, I created something when I was in a live stream. I got to 200,000. I was talking to people in a live stream and I said, well, what if I did acting karaoke, kind of like karaoke, but where I give you the lines? And people are like, yeah, do it. And I'm like, this is going to fucking bomb. No one's done this. This is going to do shit. And I'm going to be disappointed again. Anyway, I do it. My first million views or 2 million views. I'm like, oh my God, did it again. Another
Wow.
2, 3 million
Wow.
views. And I start climbing like crazy. Within a few weeks, within like a week, I was at 1 million followers. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Me and Marshall were on this crazy high. And it was like pretty insane. Speaking of Marshall, you coming in?
That's wild.
And
That's
it
wild.
was insane. And then he was like, and then at some point it hit this. I created Duet Me You Are the Blue Line acting challenges. Nobody did it before. Nobody was using their voice on acting. It was just singing, dancing. So I
Mhm.
created this. It
You were
got
the
so
innovator. You're like you innovated that
yes,
space.
yes. It got so out of a thing where I was thinking this is going to do shit. But it got so big that it hit the For You page. At the time, there was like a home page on YouTube, on TikTok. And it says, Duet Me or the Blue Line. No one credited me because at the time, the trend got so large, you didn't know who started it. But if you go back, all the way through the timestamps, you see I'd be the first one with the time code and everything. And then after that, it died. And then I was like, fuck, now I'm depressed again because what's my next thing? And I had to reinvent myself doing POVs, doing storytelling with my voice. Then when I started doing it with my voice, and all these creators blew up because they started doing it with their voice. So then we all were doing storytelling with our voice. And then that's how this ended up happening. My successes to Marshall, because there was times where I would be like, I'm not doing it 4 times today. He's like, you got to. He was my coach. And the only reason why I'm successful is because of Marshall, honestly.
Wow, I had no idea. Marshall, where is he?
Marshall!
I look at Marshall totally different now.
What's up, Khoa?
Marshall, you just told me the story that you inspired her to go into the social world
Oh yeah,
like
That
that.
wouldn't have happened without you, remember?
it was insane.
Yeah.
It was a lot
Remember
of
all the sleepless nights
Wild.
that we would get because we were
Oh,
going
yeah.
viral? It was like
for sure. The adrenaline was crazy.
the adrenaline. It was like no high ever.
Wow.
I've never did drugs, but if that was a drug, it would have been one.
Okay, let's we're talking to the filmmakers. That most filmmakers, I don't think they're like really on social, and the one that are on the one that are on the ones that are that's why you're a phenomenon, right? You're a filmmaker. You're making the features, and then you have a following, right? But most filmmakers,
Yeah, they're not on there.
99.9% of the filmmakers they're not on
They're
social.
not
They
on
make
social.
films.
Right. They're not, which they should be. Nowadays, you should be. My friend, Roman, though. Roman Adolfo? He is he's the only other filmmaker that has a big following that I know that's doing films on social all the time.
Mm.
And Zach Strassner is really, really good, and he's also on.
That's like 3 out of like thousands of people.
Oh, maybe Ricer. There's a Ricer, and yeah, I can count them on my hands between how many I know.
Because you're interesting though. You know, because you have this personality. No, I mean, first of all, you have a great skill set. That's another thing too, right? These
There's
filmmakers
not a lot of them
are
that can act, though. That's the truth. It's like they can't, like they're not. Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
have this acting. They don't have the acting chops.
And so do you see, I look at you as like this, you're a social media specialist, right? You're a crowd mover. And we saw that from the drop, from just a trailer drop, and it created a buzz. Distributors, like the business side of it, and this is 99% of the, especially in indie where they don't put any money into behind any independent film, and they drop them, they put the distribution, it just buried
Yeah,
6 feet,
Yeah.
6 feet under.
yeah,
And
which
so
is like crazy because I feel like if they would have distributed this film on Hulu, Netflix, it would have gone crazy. Because you know what? All I need to say is my film was on Netflix.
that's right.
And the influx, the craze that would have gone would have been insane because people find me as a small role on Netflix and other shows all the time. Do you know how many comments I get? You were on Insatiable, you were on Insatiable, you were on Insatiable. It's crazy that if it would have gone to a streaming service like Hulu and Netflix, I could have gotten it to number 1.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I see those comments, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. And it's not too late. Remember, so
That's
this whole
true.
distribution thing is a game by its on its own. And I would say it might go into a Netflix next year.
Yeah,
It's not too late.
that's true.
And then that's the beautiful part about filmmaking is that it's not a social media drop, right?
Yes,
The
yes.
film lasts forever,
Yeah,
right?
that's
As
true.
long as it's good, right? And so it's so every single year it's gonna get relicensed to different platforms, and so Netflix will pick it up. They might do a 3-year license. Hulu might pick it up, and then after their license go, it might keep picking up to a different. By the time we're like 60 years old, we're still seeing our old films running. So it's not too late. I would say that's the beautiful part of long form filmmaking and telling great stories, right? At the
Right.
end of the day. But anyways, Eliana, I think we killed it.
I think we did. I think that was fun. Let me say this to like people who want to like do this as a career. I feel like this is really important. This is something that I learned a long time ago and that's helped me a lot. If you want to be good at anything, you have to be good at being you first.
Mm.
And that requires you being open to human development. I feel like there's so many people that are so closed off and they think they know it all, including myself. They know it all, and there's no like personal growth. And I really truly believe that when you personally grow, you're learning for the human connection, human psychology, human, like just how you are, just learning who you are, how you operate, and who you are, how you operate. The changes like what, every 5 years, every 10 years, you change. Um,
Yeah.
and if you're growing, then your craft is going to naturally grow. And if you don't grow, your craft will stay stagnant. So, for
That's
people
right.
that really want to do this, especially as an actor, you have to become a person that's so emotionally intelligent into who you are. Um, like, complete your baggage, like, just complete your baggage with people. Don't leave things hanging in the past. Deal with your traumas and work on them. You don't have to be perfect. Like, I'm not perfect. I still have my arrogance. I still have my defiance. I still have my pushback. None of that's ever going to change, but I can own that I have that. So when it comes up, I either take responsibility for it and I apologize for being that way, or
Mm.
like, but to own it and to know it and to be aware of it, I feel like is the first step and is what will grow. If you're stagnant in your career, I mean, in your career, in your life, in your art, then that's when I say you got to turn the mirror on yourself and see where are you stagnant in your interpersonal relationships, and
Yeah.
then work on that, and then watch how everything changes. I feel like it starts here, not out there.
How do they get away from that? The self-consciousness, the fear of everything. I think that is it.
Yeah.
What's that mindset?
It's putting yourself into different perspectives. Like, so for me, it was the Landmark Forum. I did the Landmark Forum, which was a 4.5 day, which I really want you to do. For you would love it.
Okay, I will.
Four and a
I'll
half
do
day
it.
course. It's a 4.5 day course. I think there's one in New York. You go 4.5 days, right?
Mhm.
And it changed my perspective on it. My life perspective changed. My relationships got better. I completed with my dad on things. I got complete with my abuse. Even though my grandfather was
Mm.
dead, I got complete with that. I got complete with so many things. And I'm so open. And the only reason why I could talk about all this now, and I'm so open with pretty much everything, is because of doing work like that. And then I did therapy, and then I try, and I'm not saying you get stuck on something, because that's not true. If you get stuck on something, then it's kind of like, well, why are you stuck on that? It's just like, try a lot of things. Try meditation. Maybe you don't like it. Try, maybe for you, growth is you've never been walking outside, so you start going walking outside. Maybe for you, growth is like talking to a stranger. Maybe.
I think there's a fear of being canceled though, right? Because of social media, right? And I think it depends on who you are. Like, I think people get canceled within their own family. That's why the Instagram is coming out with what Instagram trials, right? There's a fear of being canceled, and I have that fear too of being canceled because I have corporate clients and where it is, and you can only say so much before. Okay, I don't want that brand be associated with that brand, but it might be, and so there
I
is
think
that
there's a
that
power.
balance.
I agree with what you're saying. Like, I understand the concern. Like, the concern is like, if you say something, could it destroy something else? But I also get that, like, this is something that you're going to learn when you do the forum. But you learn that there is a way to communicate everything, and being so
Mm.
responsible for it that it can't really hurt anyone. And yeah, people are going to naysay, but you can't, because here's the thing: the difference between it's their fault. They hurt me a long time ago. They left me. They didn't talk to me anymore. And you know what? I'm good now. I'm free, and fuck them, right? Versus, they did leave me along. We spoke, and then they ghosted me. Whatever. Not they ghosted. They just left. But I never gave that person space and time to heal. And no matter how many signs I got, which is like they didn't want to be with me anymore, I just kept forcing and forcing and forcing and forcing. And that must have been terrible for them. You know, it must have been like exhausting for them. Like, how could they possibly ever tell me their truth when they're so worried about my fragileness and my breaking? So because that happened, I made it mean that I was no good. I made it mean that I was unlovable. I made it mean that no one could possibly ever love me, and I was not good enough. But that's had nothing to do with them. They didn't say I wasn't good enough. I said I wasn't good enough. I said that I was fragile. I said that I was broken. They were just dealing with what they were dealing with. And at the end of the day, I called them and I apologized for what I could be responsible for, which is, and my hatred. I own that. I own my hatred. That had nothing to do with them. So that kind of, you can see the difference between that language and the first one.
Yep.
Very responsible, very like instantly, even though I did shit, like I instantly become to you a responsible person because of how, I basically told you the same situation, but I told you it in a way that, wow, you're like, this is responsible and I actually am getting something from this share rather than them be like, fuck you, here's my independence.
True. I
So
like that.
that's why I want you to do the forum, because you get this power in like how you speak to others, how you like are responsible. And I'm not perfect. You know, I still fuck up. But the practice of speaking in this way and perspective shift, that's what I'm talking about. Perspective shift will make you a better artist. Because we need more artists that can do this with people, having clear communication that's powerful. And if something hurts me, coming from a place of ownership in my own hurt. Otherwise, I'm just a victim. So that's where I would leave it.
So cap it off. What are you working on next?
Well, what we're trying to do next is we're trying to make AI friends into a feature, which would be so great because my audience is just waiting for that. So I'm writing that. I'm already on like page 6 or 10, whatever it is. I don't know. But, you know, the first draft of that. And then obviously, hopefully me and you get to make that short together just to play. And, you know, My Dad and the Alien, which is, I wrote it. And I wrote for the first draft.
I can't wait to
done.
do that one, actually. Yep.
Yeah, because I feel like that is just more playground for us. And then if we really like it, we can go to festivals with it. And if worst comes to worst, we have a platform that my audience would love to watch it.
Thank you, everybody. Hopefully you guys check out Christmas Cowboy and the things that we're doing in the future. So you make sure you're subscribing, hitting the notification bell, and just keep following us. Thanks, Eliana. You're great.
I love you.